a big join of the program. We're going to explore some issues that has to do with the All Progressives Congress, and we see how that evolves into their management of our Commonwealth, which is our resources and all of that. I've been joined in the program by the National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress in our Lagos studio, Mr. Felix Moka. Mr. Moka, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
I think the first thing I should do is to congratulate you and your party. Mr. Hope Uzodinma, the governor of Imo State, has just won his appeal that was preferred against him by the APC, PDP, I should say, correct, and other political party. What's your initial response to that?
And Kogi as well.
And Kogi as well.
No, we're very delighted that the courts have sided with the conduct of the elections and declared them to have complied substantially with the electoral laws of our country. So, you know, as a party, we're happy that, you know, the declaration of our success at the polls has been vindicated by the courts as well. And, you know, so, again, as we have always urged, those who lost the election should take it in the spirit of sportsmanship and, you know, collaborate with those who were elected, you know, Governor Hope and Uzodinma and Governor, you know, Ododo in Kogi, you know, to serve the people of the state. Because, you know, if your reason for contesting, for seeking political office is to serve the people, then you should serve them irrespective of the outcome of that election. Ultimately, once it's decided that this is, you know, the situation and the outcome, then you must, I think, you know, sort of abide by that, you know, original, you know, transcendental purpose, reason you ran to serve the people and find a way. Yes, it may not be serving them as governor, but serve them irrespective. And I think that's what our people really expect of political leaders to do.
Just an aside, do you think there's going to be ever a day, I'm asking this on the premise that you're a lawyer, do you think there's ever going to be a day when our elections will not be a subject of litigation, ever? Because we saw that with Jonathan. Perhaps that was the last time we saw it. Every other election has been one cost case, and sometimes we see a decision go the other way around. Is there ever going to be a time, from your experience as a lawyer and looking at the future, that we can have election without litigation?
Well, that day will come the day we abolish, you know, remedial options, where our laws do not afford those who lose elections the facility to, you know, challenge or litigate the outcome of those elections. You know, our laws support litigation of elections. So those who feel like, you know, the elections didn't go their way for reasons that are not acceptable have every right under the laws to challenge those elections. So I don't think that's actually a legitimate aspiration. You know, unless we are hoping that we're abolishing our laws. But, you know, but I get the tenor of your question, which is, you know, whether we're going to come to that point where our elections are conducted in such a manner that, you know, satisfy people to the highest level where they feel like there's no need to resort to litigation. I don't know when that day is going to come, because, you know, it's a very subjective question. You may win or lose objectively and still feel like you didn't get a fair deal and go to court. So for me as a lawyer, to me, that actually is a moral question, which is, you know, irrelevant. I think what matters is that we have courts that are staffed with competent lawyers, you know, as judges, who will adjudicate on this case and make decisions.
The reason is a converse question. It's a flip question to say we need to work on transparency, because there are climes where it's not popular to go to court after elections. There are climes like that.
Where's that?
South Africa, for instance, it's not a common thing to just run to the courts every now and then, like we see. But that is not why I brought you to compare elections. But let's talk about your party, the APC. Would you say, in all honesty, and I'm asking a generic question before I go to detail, as the APC stands now, your party is a united party, the All Progressives Congress. And why? Why would you defend it?
Yes, we are a united party. By every, you know, measure, we are very united. Unity does not suggest or require the absence, or it's not the absence of disagreement. Unity of a party, of a political family, is not about, you know, the kind of cohesion, the kind of, you know, absence of disagreement. And there's no entity, there's no, human entity where the absence of, disagreement is the definition of unity. Unity is actually the ability of those who are within that space, that, system, to disagree, but disagree with, common sense, and disagree in a way that reinforces, I think, the membership of that, entity. So, yes, we have, people who disagree once in a while with the party itself, who are legitimate members of the party, but that's actually the nature of a political party. It's there for, conversation, for, bringing divergent perspectives and interests together. But, to work it out in a way that supports a transcendental purpose. And I think that there's nobody in the APC today who does not subscribe to that transcendental purpose of the party. I think we all do.
At the end of the day, we must remember that the APC was a merger of political parties. So
correct.
The perception is that when General Buhari, who became President Muhammadu Buhari, was at the reins of affairs, it was more of a CPC affair. Now it is the ACN wing, so to say, that is being touted as being at the helm of affairs. At the vanguard of that is the Lagos boys. And I know you know the details of what I'm talking about. I'm going to the issue of Ali Ndume, where he has complained, which you had to reply, that accessing the president to tell him the truth about what is going on in the country is being difficult as a party man. So he resorted to the media. What's your response?
Look, everything I needed to say, I said in my statement, and I'm sure you've, looked at that statement. I simply just reminded, a very senior member of our party, a highly respected member of our party, that there are, internal mechanisms for resolving, any kind of grievance, whether it's a process grievance or a substantive grievance, or grievance of any kind. That there are ways in the party for dealing with that. The media is, something you do as an ultimate last resort, to go to the media to start spilling. And I think that, quite frankly, as of today, that matter is a matter we have rested because, the distinguished senator himself, we've had a lot of conversations, and I think we are in, mutual understanding that, we need to, I think, explore more internal, systems for dealing with this sort of, issues before we, step out to the public to start to, engage. We have nothing but respect for the distinguished senator, and I think that right now, as I speak, that matter is actually something that I'd rather not dwell on because we've dealt with
the reason, we are the political watchers, and yes, those of you who are politicians can say what you want to say, but we observe you and tell you some of the things that we perceive. Sometimes when you see things like that, it's a pointer to other things. So on one hand, the issue that he touted on the issue of economy. On the other hand, is the perception of the northern region as to the governance style of Mr. President. So it's a straight question I want to ask you. Do you think the North is really happy with the way President Bola Tinubu is going about the governance of this country?
Well, I'm not sure. You use the word happy. I'm not sure happy is an appropriate word.
Anyone you choose.
Or relevant to this conversation. Happy in politics, if you attend my birthday and you want to be happy, that's fine. In politics, people are, dealing with interests, all kinds of aggregation of their interests. So if people feel, or anyone feels that, their own interest is not, in their perspective, sufficiently captured and, respected, they have a right to, to express themselves. And expressing themselves doesn't mean they're not happy. Oliver Twist is Oliver Twist. People will ask for more. And it's a legitimate thing to ask for more. If you're in politics and you represent your constituency, you want the best for your constituency. And wanting the best means that you will always ask for more to make good that best that you want for your people. So I don't think it's about, people being happy or unhappy. I think that party members understand that no system or government of party politics or government arrangement can, deliver happiness to anybody. Because, even when you get what you're looking for, there's always more to ask for. So my point is that, I don't think it's about the North being unhappy or anybody being unhappy. I think it's really about people simply wanting to do more.
The reason
for themselves.
Let me help you out here. The reason I'm asking, when you look at some of the appointments, strategic appointment the president has made, from the CBN governor to the finance minister to FIRS to the leadership of the police, the leadership of the army, I can go on and on. These are the issues that was raised with former President Muhammadu Buhari, saying your appointment are lopsided and is favoring a particular section of the country. And now it looks like President Bola Tinubu is also repeating that same feat of President Muhammadu Buhari, where they are saying it's not just that it's favoring the Southwest, it's also favoring Lagos. That is where I'm going to.
You know, see, from the beginning of time, not just in our country, in any country of the world, people, if you're president, your cook is most likely to be a cook that's cooked for you for a very long time. People, you know, tend to make appointments in office, while in office, in a way that, you know, mirrors their overall, you know, worldview and experience. You just mentioned that under Buhari, we saw a lot of appointments that you call it lopsided, but you know it's the nature of things. And in this government, I think that President Tinubu has, you know, is trying to be fair, and this is a government that's just, you know, done 1 year in office, that has yet to even exhaust all of the, you know, opportunities for people to be invited to serve in this government. There's so many offices that are yet to be filled. If you notice, our jury just, you know, this past weekend did nothing but, you know, I mean, write releases of appointments. It was a flurry of appointments. So there's more to come. And you know, I've always said that we can't simply just, you know, stop at a junction and begin to make this sort of, you know, assessments as though, you know, it's all done and said. It's not all, you know, said and done.
Mr. Moka, it's not as light as it's not as light as you're making it. Remember that before Mr. Ningi, Senator Ningi was suspended.
Yes.
I remember Senator Bamidele Okoyemi mentioning the fact that all of this is because Senator Akpabio is the Senate president from the South. And he was saying that when the North was in charge, nobody interrupted it. Why all of this? So those are like triggers that, do you think the APCs, are you paying attention to what is going on? Is actually my question.
No, no. I think you are, not you, but I mean, just to be charitable, I think, you know, some people may choose to be obsessive about some of these, you know, details and nuance. I mean, raise the chart for me about the appointments, you know, in the polity, in the government of this president. Raise the chart and show me, you know, even the mention you made of some of the appointments. We have some fairness in the key offices.
Like
you know,
which ones? Mention them.
We have the president, we have the vice president. We have the defense. We have the, you know, finance. The defense is mostly staffed by people from the northern side. And, you know, you have the finance, you know, staffed by, I mean, to the extent you talk about the Minister of Finance and the CBN from the south side. You see, look, you know, I'm not going to get into that detail, like I said, because, you know, I think it's always premature. I think if you want to look, if you want to make that assessment, hold your breath until, you know, a lot of the key positions are filled. You can, you know, I think that those who want to make an issue of, you know, ethnicity, the president has the country as his constituency. You know, the country is not, the president is not the president of the Southwest or the North or the South. He's the president of Nigeria. And every section of this country deserves to be effectively represented, you know, consistent with the federal character, you know, I mean, flavor.
I would like us to move on
of our constitution.
But you know what I'm saying, that
I know what you're saying, but I think it's about, it's a lot of quibbling, quite frankly.
The way Nigerians perceive leadership. You must understand the way Nigerians perceive leadership. No, hold on.
There's no, I'm sorry. There's no way that Nigerians perceive leadership and democracy. None of them is indigenous to Nigeria. Our democracy that we practice is not indigenous to Nigeria. Others practice democracy. And I don't think that, you know, look at the British cabinet that was just announced. How many people in England, in your position, are busy scrutinizing who is from, what part of England.
Mr. Moka, don't take it out on me. So it's a simple thing. Our job is to look at the...
You guys tend to overstretch.
It's not about overstretching. This is where the APC must also be careful as well as a political party.
Correct.
Drop some of the arrogance, if you will, at the end of the
day. Who's been arrogant?
I'm just saying...
No. First of all, I take exception to that language. Nobody's been arrogant, and,
I'm giving you...
When you have a conversation...
No, I'm giving you...
No, hang on, please. It's about perspective. When you, frame a question and you put it forward, I am entitled, under the Constitution, to express a perspective. You may not agree, but that does not, now descend to the arena of arrogance. That's not acceptable. That's not a fair comment.
But I know you understand what I'm saying. So let's move on from there, because we know that this kind of situation have cost people government. So it's our job to bring it to the fore, so that you look at it the way you can look at it as a political party and say, okay, is there sense, is there no sense? But that's just for another day. Let's talk about the issue of the economy, which is one of the reasons why we invited you here. Now, the inflation numbers are out again. And although month on month we're seeing some temporary, is getting lower in terms of the rate, but the inflation is still high. The challenge here is that no matter what the government seems to be doing, it's not moving the needle as it should, because things are still tough for Nigerians. Is the government thinking of looking at things a bit more differently, so that Nigerians can actually feel this renewed hope? Nigerians have really gone through a lot. Don't you think so?
Look, again, that is a subject that touches the nerve. It's one that, personally, and I think I can safely speak for, everyone, including the President of the Federal Republic, that nobody is resting easy, given the kind of pressure and difficulty that our people are living through. Everyone is very concerned. And, given the opportunity, this president wants to reset and eradicate, the pain that Nigerians are going through, like yesterday. However, we're dealing with economic circumstances and questions that are not, easily snapped away just because you will, and you have the will to do so. If you notice, when there's a problem, my attitude always, even in my personal life, I think that I try to focus on my effort to deal with a problem. Not so much the problem. Problems sometimes occur naturally. Sometimes they occur, based on factors that are outside of my control, outside of the control of even a country like Nigeria. But, question is this government doing all that it can do to solve the problems? My verdict is yes. Is there more that can be done? My verdict is also yes. And I think that this government is committed, doing everything. In this season alone, in this past few months, there's been a slew of interventions that the government is throwing at this problem, hoping, and in a deliberate expectation that, like you said, we're going to shift and begin to see, a downward movement in terms of the intensity of, the inflationary pressure. And it will happen. It will, because, I don't think that the factors in play have a whole lot of, latitude to play in, escalation. I think that, if anything, I expect that we're going to begin to see, hopefully, a rollback of some of those, factors that are, responsible for the pain that our people feel.
You see, the point is, and I'm going to rephrase my question, the point is we're seeing efforts.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it. Okay. I can go through some of the efforts.
Yes.
There's even planned efforts to the tune of 2 trillion naira.
Yes.
There's even 20 trucks per state just being released.
Correct.
We're seeing effort. But it looks like something is missing in the prioritization of this government to be able to get the kind of result they envisage, because they didn't come, I guess, to make things more difficult for people. I don't think any government came to do that.
Sure.
So what is it in terms of prioritization that this government is missing?
There's nothing in terms of, pragmatic solutions. There's nothing missing. What is there is that it's the time element. That a lot of the interventions that the government has put in place are not things that are, miracle solutions. They're not solutions that will manifest today. If anyone had spiritual powers, you can make it happen today. But these are human, endeavors that will play out over time. And inevitably so, because, that's the nature. Because the problems themselves were not created in one day. We didn't just wake up to see the country at this level. It was a consistent, program of, do's and don'ts and things done, things that were not supposed to be done, or things, opportunities missed that brought us to this point. A lot of efforts that previous governments could have done. But, I am not one of those, if you know me, I'm not one of those who, I don't like to look back in terms of, trying to find, a scapegoat. I don't do that. This president, was fully aware that he was inheriting a country that was, in dire straits. He said so. But all that he is asking is that our people need to simply just, work with the government.
Let me ask you a direct question. Is it difficult
to reverse this?
With what is going on right now, you're a spokesperson of the party. Is it difficult to defend the government of President Bola Tinubu?
Why is that difficult? I mean, if it was difficult, would I be here? You invited me and I came, knowing that we have a lot of issues, to talk about. You see, it's not about difficulty defending government. Why would it be difficult? You see, every family, everybody, this is a human condition. Every family, every, institution, channels, television, any institution in the world, the United States of America, the so-called, modern beacon of democracy. We saw what happened just this past, few days with the former president. It's not perfect anywhere. So, why would I be shy to come here to discuss the efforts of a government that I know is determined to solve, some of the problems that we face? Like I said, time, I think, makes all the difference. Maybe in a month or two, we come here, we may be having a different conversation. But, I think that Nigerians, all I'm saying is that Nigerians must understand that there's no, miracle worker anywhere who will wave a wand to solve every problem overnight. And I think that was understood and stated from the get-go.
I have one or two more questions to ask you. The reason is that I'm asking that is President Bola Tinubu inherited the government of the APCs, APC to APC. So let's be clear on that particular one. But I must thank you for coming, by the way, because it's not everybody we invite that comes through to defend this government, which is why I asked you that question. So I must publicly thank you for coming. So let's talk about the LG autonomy issue that happened a few days ago. Governor of Kwara State, I think Abdurrahman Abdurrazak, came out and said, well, we're happy. It's going to be less of a burden for us. At the end of the day, we don't touch local government money. But the AGF took them to court because they say they are tampering with local government money. What should we be believing in this scenario? And now everybody is kind of giving their own interpretation of what this law is. Oh, we know what to do. You can't dictate to us what to do and all of that. I want you to help me speak to it.
No, see, look, it's not complicated. Local governments, I think we all accept and agree that, under our constitutional framework, the local governments constitute the third tier of government because it's a government that's, I think, dedicated to the, interests and, welfare and well-being of people at the lowest level of our political structure, in local government. For me, I think over the years, I have actually, on my own, as a lawyer, as a human rights lawyer, litigated this subject in the Car South, where I come from. I went to the High Court, in Abo, and brought a case against the Delta State government to compel them to conduct elections so that the local government can be managed by democratically elected officials when they were in this, I think, mode of using caretaker committees to run the local governments. So personally, in my own understanding, I think that the Supreme Court was right on the mark to give local governments the access to funds that is meant for them. I don't think this matter should, engage, the kind of controversy that I'm saying, because, you know, it should be a no-brainer that local governments should have access to whatever funds are meant for them for their use.
The reason it's causing this problem is because by the design of the framers of our constitution,
yes,
that is supposed to be a tier of government, but politicians have made it a political structure.
But now the Supreme Court has corrected it, so I think, you know, we should rest easy.
So one last question on this particular one: how do we get off this local government election and sweeping polls by incumbent? We just had one. Delta, PDP, I think Adamawa, PDP,
Correct.
We had one, Oyo, PDP, I think Gombe, APC. Those are the ones I can quickly remember. Sweeping polls. That is why people are calling for INEC to come and conduct polls. Does it make sense to you?
I agree. No, I agree that, you know, that entire system for regulating how elections are conducted into local governments has to be properly revisited by, you know, the state governors and the federal authorities. They need to come together to figure out a way to create, you know, a system and to regulate the conduct of elections that lends itself to some level of scrutiny and objectivity and some, you know, independence as well. Because, you know, giving financial autonomy is one thing, but if those who serve are themselves handpicked by the same governors, then we're not yet there. I think that we need to, you know, make some reform, if you will, to that electoral process.
Mr. Monka, I must thank you so much for coming on the program. I understand we're totally out of time, but I must thank you. You say you came. We will keep inviting you to come and defend this.
And I will keep coming.
And we'll be asking you the hard questions. No matter how uncomfortable you are.
Very well. And I'll do my best to answer you.
Yeah. Mr. Felix Moka, the National Publicity Secretary of the APC. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.